Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with Carl Bryan. If you want to attract new high-end coaching clients, fill live events, and build a wildly profitable coaching practice where business owners pay, stay, and refer, you've come to the right place. In this podcast, Carl provides his keys to the kingdom for finding and signing high-paying clients and building the coaching business of your dreams. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, coaches around the world, welcome to another exciting episode of Business Coaching Secrets. It's your boy, the Road Dog, of course, with none other than the man, the myth, the man who swims with the dolphins and avoids the sharks, the king of the Caribbean, Carl Bryan. Shoots.
Buddy, Shoots, how you doing? I got to tell you a funny one this morning. So I saw there's a decent sized sandbar. I was out surfing this morning, and I saw a dolphin, and I often do, right? And anyways, dolphin scooting along, and then I'm going up, and I'm like, I'm actually going to walk on the sandbar, and I'm going to get up close to them. Like I hang out with these dolphins. You know what I mean? They're very friendly. Hang out with them a fair bit. Anyways, and I got a little bit, so I got off my board. And then all of a sudden I did notice my board started floating away, which was not ideal because, again, it can sometimes be a little difficult to catch up to with the waves. But anyways, and then I'm like, oh my God, that could be a shark. And I'm like, hang on a minute. So but I got a little closer and it was all good. But I had a little bit of a scare this morning. So oh my God.
That is amazing.
Yeah. So a shark. Anywho, how are you doing? What's going on?
Well, you know what's going on. The not the timestamp, but the Olympics are over. Some definite highlights of the Olympics. Australian breakdancing went to another level. Oh my God, that chick has gone viral. It's amazing.
I know. You know the story behind it, right? Do you know the story?
You know what? I don't.
She's got a PhD, okay, and she's actually a fantastic breakdancer, but she's a little bit past it now. And she's won competitions to do, but she was trying to make a point. There was some, I can't quite understand it, but it's funny how people see things and then they just run with it, right? It's the same with the gal or the guy in the boxing. Let's not, I mean, I don't know the whole story, but this is a woman who's lived, was born a woman, has women body parts, has never had any male body parts, but when she does a particular test, you know what I mean? Like it comes up and hang on a minute, you know what I mean? You get some genetics here, a chromosome that's, like male. But at the end of the day, that is not her fault. It's like shoots like one guy, like LeBron James is 6'8" and somebody else is 5'8". The guy's got a massive advantage against the guy who's 5'8", and that's why he's in the Olympics and somebody else isn't, and that said, I don't know, maybe shouldn't be in the Olympics. I don't know. I'm not here to debate that. What I am here to debate is that social media goes bloody crazy, that as though this is somebody who's lived like a man and just kind of changed things last month and shows up to the Olympics and is beating the crap out of everybody. You know what I mean? And it's just, gosh, social media can be brutal. So the same thing went with the Aussie doing the the break dancing, and she's making out like she's a kangaroo, and she literally scored 0. So there's articles written about it now that are a little bit out there, but she's got a PhD. She's trying to make a little bit of a point, and there you go. So, but it was rather comical, and I enjoyed it.
There's another highlight. Speaking of massive, big advantages, I'm sure you saw the pole vault, and that was rather interesting. I'm sure that guy was really popular with the athletes village. And then obviously the guy with the shooting guy, no special glasses, hand in pocket, wins freaking silver. It's like, tell me you're an assassin killer without telling me you're an assassin killer. So good.
I know. Pure.
Anyways.
And then a lot of the guys and gals who won medals, like they took his pose, right, with like hand in pocket and then shooting, which was pretty cool. So yeah, that was neat, man. That was neat. Very cool.
Well,
very cool.
You know what? Well, we can all agree that perhaps there was some unconventional things about the Olympics this time, which is a perfect segue, Shoots. Believe it or not, it's almost like I set that up. Boy, I'm getting better at these. Can you tell me something, wait for it, unconventional, about building a business coaching practice?
Ooh, Shoots, you knocked that out of the park.
Just pat me my gold medal now.
Yeah, no, exactly. Hang on, let me make, so what's the question? What, you want me to say something unconventional as opposed to not something out of the ordinary about building a
Unconventional
coaching
about
business?
building a coaching business. I think that would be, yeah, just give us something a little bit out there, perhaps a little bit
No?
unconventional, just different.
Okay. What am I going to say? Shoots. Well, okay. So here's listen to an interview this morning, Elon Musk, and it's a question on a lot of people's minds, and that you've probably heard plenty. But it's like, will America lose its reign as the world superpower, right? And if so, by the way, what would take it down? And if you ask the average person, they will talk about, the dollar declining, the dollar, you know what I mean? The dollar no longer being the standard, and go, notwithstanding going the way of Venezuela, right? And becoming, like a little bit of a peso as opposed to the USD, or they might say instability within the ranks, that you could maybe agree that maybe appears to be the case. Another popular one would be civil war, right? But what he said, and what they say, and what the data backs up, is that every civilization that's reigned as a superpower for an extended period, or it's actually that they have achieved prosperity for an extended period of time, what happened was the birth rate dropped, right? So, and logically, that has a little bit to do with the extended period of prosperity. What happens? Things become a little bit, until they become a lot more expensive. So then folks think, you know what, I might just live this lifestyle instead of that lifestyle. It becomes significantly more expensive to have kids, right? So the biggest threat to America's reign as superpower is the birth rate. And as I say that, you probably recognize it as something that Elon Musk has been saying a lot. But it's just, two people having one kid, or zero kids for that matter, it's just super expensive for them to have the kids. And then they decide, they don't say I'm not having kids generally, they decide to put it off until 28, until 32, until 35. And then in some cases, they've gone that long and they say stuff it, or challenges. And if you know anything about, the great food that we now eat as opposed to what we ate way back when, like fertility is significantly down versus where it was 50 years ago, like significantly. So then all of a sudden you decide to wait, you put your career forward, and women having, careers as a result of all of that. All of a sudden they, the birth rate drops. So like the biggest threat to America's reign as a superpower is basically the birth rate, right? And by the way, so then you go, okay, so what's the solution? And the solution would be to have a massive incentive on having a third child, right? But by the way, the government doesn't think like that, and I don't see anything like that forthcoming. But that, you know what I mean? This is what's happening. This is what's happening, and possibly by having a child prior to the age of 25, that would also be something that could be, show me. You want to see the results. You want to see the outcome. Just look at the incentives, right? That's what Charlie Munger used to say. If you want me to tell you what's going to happen, just show me the incentives to get there, and I'll show you what's, how it's going to end. So anyway, and that, okay, so that got me thinking to this. Why do coaching businesses go from kicking butt and then going sideways a little bit? Well, an extended period of prosperity, right? Let's just say you're a one-to-one coach and you can handle 15 one-to-one clients. When you got your 15 clients and you're on easy street, what don't you do? And that's, you don't network, you don't generate leads, you don't bring in new blood, right? Well, when you don't bring in new blood to your coaching business, what does, what does the 101 of math say that's ultimately going to happen? Because you are not going to keep all 15 clients ongoing. I mean, it's totally Tony Robbins doesn't keep all of his. Road Dogg doesn't keep all of his. I don't keep all of mine. You're not keeping yours, right? And you might have better retention than others, of course, right? High five. But at the end of the day, if you're not bringing in new blood, you're going to have challenge. Actually, one other thing, Shoots, that comes to mind when I was just kind of taking some notes. And a coaching relationship, I think it would be fair to say that it's pretty close. So I actually heard this. Somebody was talking about speed coaching. Okay, and many moons ago, I went to this speed dating thing, right? Where you know what speed dating is? There's like 15 tables, 15 gals, 15 guys, and then the guys stand up and they just, you know, there's a timer. And I have no idea, but call it 3 minutes, and you go and then you speak to this gal for 3 minutes. The buzzer goes, and then she decides at the end of the night, you know what I mean? You know, who she wants to have, you know, who she wants to get called back from, and then maybe you got her phone number or whatever that looked like, right? Anyway, so I might be going off center here, but anyway, so getting a coaching, you know, getting a coaching client is a lot like getting a date, right? And they say that dating, you should be with somebody for 90 minutes in order to establish, you know, the right amount of rapport to build a genuine spark. Okay, so there's a little bit of magic. There's a little bit of data. I'm not in charge of the data. Don't ask me where it was found. But at the end of the day, there is some pretty solid data. I'm comfortable saying that at the 90-minute mark, there's a bit of magic. I know I used to own a hockey rink, and I never let the trainings go over 2 hours, because after 2 hours, I lost the kids, right? Like they were whacking each other with their sticks, etc. There's a little bit of magic in the 90 minutes. And okay, another thing, like the reason dating doesn't work nowadays, and if you understand the math, it's absolutely, you know, dating has never been more difficult, stranger, bunch of reasons behind it. But a big one is that most people through dating apps, okay, and online tools, people are more looking for a sibling than they are a date, right? So it's about shared interests, right? So you're looking for, you know, a sibling as opposed to a partner. And if, you know, like opposites attract, isn't that a famous song by what's her name, Paula Abdul, right? She was awesome. I love opposites attract. I won't sing for you folks, but anyways, so opposites tend to attract. But when you fill out the dating app, you're doing exactly what that is, because apps are all about what's your criteria, right? So they're about disqualifying more than they are qualifying, right? Much like marketing. Anyway, so and that is not a good strategy for finding spark and then attractiveness to a particular individual. And in fact, I don't even, it's cut me off at any stage if I'm going too off in left field. But okay, so the show The Bachelor, which Road Dogg has made fun of me many a time for, sadly, I actually quite enjoy that show, and I find it to be like one of the greatest social experiments in the history of mankind. Okay, so what they do when you go on a date on The Bachelor, what are they doing? Okay, and I want you to think of skydiving. I want you to think of climbing down a building. I want you to think of bungee jumping, right? And if you've also noticed, they get really, really deep and really, really emotionally tied. Genuine, it seems genuine. No doubt sometimes it's not, right? But it does seem very, very genuine, very, very quick, right? Well, there's science behind it around, how do I word it? Like, shared emotional experience. Okay, so when you do that, it will dramatically increase the attraction slash spark. Okay, so a shared emotional experience. Think bungee jumping, think skydiving, think climbing down. You know, doing something that elevates your heart rate. Right. So translation for me, the note that I took and that I'm trying to get to in a possibly long-winded way, think about doing something really fun and something really exciting with your coaching clients. Like go rent dune buggies, you know, because it's one thing to go put them all in a Facebook group, right? Which is like, okay, and that's a great idea, a horrible idea, somewhere in the middle. But couldn't be, you know, I don't know that it's a bad idea because you're connecting everybody, right? We do that, and lots of companies do that. It works very, very well in many ways. But you know what I mean? Like, so rather than doing that, and also to doing that, take them, you know what I mean? Take your client on a shared, go bungee jumping with them. Go take them surfing. Take them to do something that's a little bit wild and crazy. Like going to see you know, when you see a dolphin, like if you watch a hockey game by yourself, and it could be game 7 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. I mean, it's exciting. You go watch it with 50,000 people in a building, people screaming and yelling, and somebody scores and the horn goes off and everybody's standing up going nuts, high-fiving, and you know, that's shared experience. Like take them to a sporting event, you know, a soccer game, a football game, a baseball game, what have you. I think you're going to find that what do I call it? That emotional experience that is shared things will jack up if again you're looking for that. But I think you could do it with your coaching clients. You might want to give this recommendation to your 19-year-old son or daughter, by the way. But it can build a really strong connection really quickly. And the more connected your client is to you and you are to them, the better chance this relationship has of working. Remember, if I'm coaching you, you're coaching me. You want to say jump and have the coachee say how high, not why. Right? I say jump, you say how high, not why. I don't want you, if you're questioning anyone when we're coaching, it's not going to be a great relationship. Well, a great way to do that is to accelerate our relationship and build the level of trust and loyalty. Well, that could, taking them to a hockey game, taking them bungee jumping, taking them, riding doom buggies, taking them for a walk, taking them for a jog, taking them on a 10K exercise, doing CrossFit, going to the gym would also do it, riding on a stationary bike beside them. And that's not going to do it as well or as quickly as skydiving, by the way, but then maybe your coaching client's got a bad hip and you need to be a little careful there. But anyways, and yeah, without the real problem in dating is the paradox of choice, by the way. It's the dating apps that bring in, you know what I mean? You get home, a relationship takes time, okay, coaching client. So when you go on a date and then the gal comes home and then she's got 35 messages waiting for her from other guys, it can be really difficult to let that relationship, let that spark, let that connection kind of marinate, I'm going to say. And that's a huge issue. Anyways, I'm not going to bother that. Take your clients to do something really cool and outside the box. And I think that might be awesome. So there you go. That's what I was thinking about, Shoots. And unconventional. That's not everybody's doing it. What do you think? How'd I do?
I love it. Like that paradox of choice is sort of a mental model. Can you give us another sort of like high level or another mental model, if you will, just around coaching clients successfully, maybe? Do you have something there?
Okay, so I'm trying to go like relationships, but it's not quite working. So life is all about context. Debatably, I watched an interview and I don't know who it was. I believe it was Lewis Howes and somebody else, but they asked a really high level question and the guy just responded with everything, like the best bit of coaching advice you could give. Let's just say that. I don't paraphrasing on steroids, but anyways, and he answered, everything is all about context, right? So like you feel like your life sucks, your client feels like their life sucks. And the truth is that it's been so good for so long that they can't appreciate everything that you've got, right? Like 50 years ago, there was no hot water. So every morning you jump in the shower, and what they said in the interview, like it's that you're having a shower, and like 50 years ago, the most successful person, Rockefeller, wasn't able to have a hot shower. And then you just, jump in and totally take it for granted, right? Or maybe significantly better than that, just everything is context, meet somebody who has 6 months to live, right? Without meeting them, tell me, on a level of 1 to 10, their tolerance for putting up with crap, right? Their patience, their zero pettiness tolerance. Would you agree that they've got that, as opposed to, oh my gosh, you know what I mean? Are they going to put up with any pettiness? Are they going to throw out any pettiness when they've got 6 months to live? And they are going to say, I have got zero time, zero bandwidth for that. Their thinking is significant. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're looking for the positive. They're looking for the good. They're looking for the joy, right? And so somebody's got 6 months to live. Their ability to see their ability to take simple moments and simple things and see magic in them is absolutely next level. Like as an example, I've had that same best friend since I was 8 years old. We're ridiculously close. His mom was like my mom. I called her mama. They've got 3 kids. I was written into the will as an even 4th, right? So I mean, we were close. And she passed away. May she rest in peace. Beautiful human. Saved me. When my brother committed suicide when I was young and I was 16 years old, she really took me in. So like we're close. You talk about shared emotional experience. We had that on steroids. Well, she was in very poor health before she passed away. And she would look at the flowers and go, oh my gosh. She would talk about the beautiful, like the smell in the air. She would talk about the color, the sky, the clouds. She just like, you know what I mean? Like she was seeing in magic in the most simple of things. We're looking out at the water. She was like, oh my God, it's just so beautiful. And by the way, and in many cases, she didn't need to see it because I could literally see it on her face, right? That she was looking at it going, wow, it's magical. And I would dare say that maybe what she was thinking was, why didn't I appreciate this, prior to ending up in this, then, being here. So, and anyways, and I ask you that maybe, are you going for a walk? Are you enjoying the flowers? Are you enjoying the fresh air, the clouds, and it might be, it's overcast and it's like, are you enjoying that? The rain, like I personally love the rain. But you know what I mean? Like, when it rains, do you get in a bad mood, or do you go, oh my God, it's amazing, right? When it snows, do you go, oh my God, it's amazing, or do you go, oh, the bloody snow, and think about the fact your car may or may not start, or the roads may or may not be slippery, right? So I don't know. They say, I believe this is going to be Tony Robbins 101, but they say you haven't really lived until you face death. Actually had a conversation with a friend of mine who literally last night, who's going through a little bit of a health thing. And that's what I said to him. I said, man, you haven't really lived until you face death, dude. Yes, you got a little bit of a battle possibly ahead, but what I really want you to do is just embrace, it's kind of context is where I was trying to go with him, and just say, look, you can think negatively or you think positively. You might as well think positive. You can't have a positive and a negative thought at any one time. Your coaching client can't have a positive and a negative thought at any one time. So again, try to train your mind. To go to the positive, the way that Mama did with 6 months to live, right? And knowing that again, she wasn't in great health, and all this might be taken away. So I believe that a life hack would be to manufacture the reality that you only had 6 months to live, because they say if you've never really lived until you face death, what you got to do is manufacture it. And I talked about this not too long ago, and I have done this a bit lately, and I will continue to do it. But there's a thing called death meditation. And it's very, very powerful. I don't know that you should be doing it all the time, because maybe that's not a good idea for you. You decide. But I have found, in fact, I did the Hoffman process. You guys might have heard of that. Very, very powerful. Think like landmark personal development on steroids. Without doubt, for me, the most meaningful, powerful, purposeful, the big takeaway was that actually, if anybody's going to go to it, I might be ruining a little bit of a magical point of it, so I'll apologize. If you're going to go to Hoffman, stop listening right now, plug your ears. But what you do is you actually write your obituary, and then you go to a cemetery and you choose, you know what I mean, like a headstone, and then you basically talk over yourself and give your own obituary that you wrote. And if you can do that without tears rolling down your face, you're a better man or better woman than I. But my heavens, that was powerful. But anyways, that was very, very powerful. So it was a little bit like manufacturing your death, right? The situation. I think that there's a lot of power in that. I got to tell you, it gives you just context. Context is everything. You've had it so good for so long. Your coaching clients had it so good for so long, you don't realize, right? So, enjoy the journey. George Orwell, I believe, got it wrong, right? He said that like an authoritative figure is going to come in and basically take everything away, take our power. And I got to tell you, young men, I can't speak to the women, right? I don't know that the perils of a young 23-year-old woman, right? But I have been that young man, and I have got to tell you, they are addicted to these bloody video games, these gambling apps, which could be the end of civilization, in my opinion. Get those things off the damn phones. But let's just go to video games and not be too dramatic here. George Orwell said that we were going to have it taken away. And I am thinking that we are just going to give it away. We're not going to need to have it taken. We're just going to literally give it away. And how are we going to do that? Cheap dopamine hits like video games, those stupid gambling apps, Facebook likes, shares, comments, etc. It's cheap dopamine is a brutal drug that you and your coaching clients should avoid at all bloody costs. Anyway, shoots. I don't know. Life is all context. Try to manufacture you haven't lived until you face death. Try to manufacture a situation where you've only got 6 months to live. You've only got 6 months to build your business until you sell it. You've only got 6 months to get the sales team. You've only got, and by the way, what, 6 hours, 6 days, 6 weeks? You know what I mean? Like there is no, okay, if you want to have, like, let's just assume that if you took a drug, like a limitless drug, and you could just like have a superpower, that would be a good thing for your business. Well, if you want a drug that is better than any drug you could ever take, cocaine, I've never done cocaine in my life. I don't really know what it's like, but I can only imagine from what people have told me. If you want something significantly more powerful than meth, cocaine, whatever drug you want to put methamphetamines to do, it is a deadline that you cannot miss. There's a deadline, and I believe it's Alex Hormozi has kind of said that from, you know, like in a significantly more elongated, you know, like, you know, with the better story in the middle of it. But there's no drug as powerful as a deadline, but it's a deadline that you can't miss, right? It's like, you know, the Super Bowl, there is a the clock is going down, 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 and that is a deadline that Tom Brady could not miss. So he's playing the Atlanta Falcons. It's halftime. He's down by, I think it's 27 points or whatever it was, an insane total. And he knew that he had, you know, 2 quarters of 15 minutes each, and the deadline just keep getting a little bit closer, a little bit closer, a little bit closer, a little bit closer. And one team kind of, you know, pooped their pants a little bit, and then our boy Tom Brady stepped up in a very meaningful way and ended up holding the Super Bowl. But that's like an example of a deadline. Have a deadline, one you cannot miss. You're going to do a live event, book the chamber, pay them, and 7:00 a.m., be there, be square, just do it. I don't care if it's 2 days away or 10 days away, just make the deadline and go do it. So shoots, that's all I got, bud. There you go. Context, bud.
Okay, well, we're on a roll here with mental models. Now, I remember somebody wrote in a while back, actually. I don't know when exactly, but asked you to explain the effort paradox. Now, I can only assume that you're either writing about it or talked about it at some point. I don't think we ever got to it. I'm not sure. Does that sound familiar? I don't think we ever got to it on the podcast, but can you just explain the effort paradox just for everybody listening right now?
I can, shoots. I can. Yes, I do remember, but I got no idea if we went over it, but we'll go over it again. So yeah, effort paradox. And I would dare say if you are not great at sales, this could be a little bit of a superpower for you. In a sentence, the harder it appears to do, the more value you see. Okay, the harder it appears for you to do, them to do, somebody to do, the harder it is to do, the more value you see. Okay, so a great example of this, the best example I could think of is Alex Hormozi. He did a launch a while back, and he broke the internet, blah 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 blah. So this might sound familiar to you. 2 years, was like 67,000 words, 2,000 hours, 270 pages, 62 pro tips, 25 chapters, right? Like he's constantly talking about how hard that it was to do that launch and to put together the presentation and put together the XYZ. And he constantly talks about how hard he works. That's what you will notice about Alex Hormozi. In fact, his wife wished him a happy birthday, and she literally mentioned in the happy birthday how hard he works, right? And I can tell you, it may be, but I'm going to bet a lot that it's not, that it is not by accident that she mentioned how hard he works and that he mentions how hard he works, because it's a very powerful and misunderstood principle of the effort paradox, right? The harder it appears to do, the more value you see, right? So Alex is a total master at it. he just makes things sound like they're so hard. And Tony Robbins does the exact same thing, right? The exact same thing, constantly talking about years of work and decades into days and speed reading and the books that he read and how he's doing his he does his presentation and, it's 1 o'clock. He keeps people there until 1 o'clock in the morning because come hell or high water, he's going to get the result. And where does he go at 1 o'clock? Does he go to bed? Does he put his head on the pillow? No, he goes and rehashes with his team, not just himself, but his team, on how he could do better, what tweaks he would make next time, etc. Right? So they do that by, not by accident. It's very, very, very much strategic. So here would be a question I would have for you listening. Are you talking to your coaching prospects and your high-end coaching clients you're trying to, prior to them becoming a client, and whilst they're clients, by the way, but are you talking about how difficult it is? One of the things that I always, in my close, going back almost 2 decades ago, I always talk how I was going to go, and it's about 7 hours of work. Okay, and what the document that I'm going to provide you is going to be over 30 pages. Well, do you think that anybody didn't want to see the over 30-page document? Of course they did. That was going to be all about their business. And for me and my team to go do 7 hours of work collectively and together on their business, like who wouldn't want that, right? But again, it was the effort paradox that we were basically, looking for, using, leveraging, etc. Like how long did you train? And do you get up in the morning and do you lift weights and do you train so that you can have a better business day? And are you committed to doing that so that you can bring, the most discipline, the most creativity, the most imagination to your coaching clients? You know what I mean? Like how many reps have you had in the business world? How many coaching clients have you worked with? How many people, you always talk about, Tony Robbins always talking about how, people from all over the world and for like 2 decades and like all the coaching clients that have been, coached by him and guided by him. And he's never lost us, he'd tell you he's never lost a, somebody threatening suicide. He's never lost one, right? So he talks about all those things and he does, it's not that, it's the work that went into it and the effort that went into it and his dedication to his craft that allows him to have that track record. Right. So again, how about you? How many failures in business did you have before the monster success? How bad were the failures? Do you take them down that slippery slope? Oh my gosh, in an emotional way. And if you watch Tony Robbins speak, he does this all. You see Tony Robbins talk in a 4-day seminar with 100% certainty, he is brought to tears multiple times. Right. Again, not by accident. Or maybe it is, but no, it's totally unrealistic at this point. He's been doing it for decades. So anyway, talking about your effort, very, very powerful. There's a good chance you're not doing it, by the way, and I dare say you should. But that, Shoots, what do you think? So that's effectively the effort paradox, and it's just, framing it up that if it's really hard to do, the more value that they're going to see, the more they will want to jump on it, the more that the scarcity will work, the more that they will pay, the quicker that they will pay, the quicker that they will say yes, the more excited that they will be, the more authoritative they will find you. Anyway, so that's the, how'd I do? That's the effort. Anything you want to add?
That's good. So I've got a question. I guess it's interesting because when you say like, are you talking about your effort, right? And the fact that there's really good chance you're not, sort of along the same vein, because we did get a question in regards to demonstrating social proof. Can you, like, I guess it's sort of a loose tie-in, but how would you demonstrate, let's just talk on social proof. I'd be curious as well on the effort and tying that in. You talked about that, but let's talk about social proof here. Can you talk to us about that and how you demonstrate that, I guess, in a way that doesn't seem over the top?
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. I think that that's the effort paradox. Yeah. So one of the primary secrets of our business coaching community, my company, focus.com, is that we have a walking, talking, edifying bit of social proof in all of our clients, right? Like we do business coaching mastery. We do it normally in Cancun every year. All of the speakers are clients. Nobody's ever got on our stage and not been a client. We do virtual business coaching mastery, same thing. Nobody's ever spoken at virtual business coaching mastery and not been our client, right? So, and then, again, we have a huge Facebook group and they're all there. And again, they're asking questions and providing value. And then we do challenges and everybody's posting a lot of their material in there and people are liking and commenting it. And giving them positive feedback, etc. And even, like my top client, he's been a client for over 10 years, built a $30 million coaching business. Again, I call him Mr. X, right? But when people see that level of success, they find it inspiring, right? And it leaves them, I believe, that when they can see that somebody else can pull it off and that somebody's done it and somebody else pushed through, but somebody else saw, the trials or had the trials, the tribulations, the false starts, the swings and misses, the missteps, but didn't give up and then kept going, it makes it so much easier for them to kind of, make bold moves and to really push forward. The business coach that doesn't make it is one that experiments, right? They do it, I'm going to try this for 30, 60, 90 days and see if it works. With that attitude, you got very slim chance of it working. What you got to do, you got to go all in. Like we're launching a local legends program, where you run local live events. We're launching that today. And, the beginning of that, we're going to open it up and it's just, you got to go all in, right? And the expectation is that you go all in. And of course, we want you to go all in for yourself, but I want you to go all in because you're going to inspire the others. Because not only do they want to be inspired by you, they want, they not only do they want you to be inspired by them, but they want to be inspired by you, right? So anywho, so building a little bit of a community could also be a positive step for you in your coaching business, is what I'm trying to say there. In a roundabout way, it will take some effort. It will take some, time to build up and to get the value so that people feel value from the community. But the worst thing you can do is not start, right? But okay, so the question is around social proof. Well, I can tell you there's 10 different ways to demonstrate social proof. And I've talked about them for a long time in different ways, and sometimes isolating and sometimes listing them. Public relations, right? So that is one way of getting social proof. So that's a write-up about your company, write-up about you, write-up about what you do. Think blogs, magazines, radios, different types of things like that. So bottom line, public relations, PR, that's nothing new, but that is a form of social proof, right? Testimonials from past clients, testimonials from current clients, and that would be two different things, right? Past and current. Another way of doing it is being the educator, right? So think of a webinar, think of a seminar, think of a lunch and learn, a workshop that you could create, maybe with a partner, maybe on your own, being a guest speaker, having a guest speaker, writing a book, more you being the guest speaker, by the way, but basically becoming the educator. That is a way of doing social proof. Really, really good way. I'm going to say misunderstood, but maybe better way of saying it is not used to the level that it could be. And just think of late night TV, and you'll see this, but a demonstration, or in the business coaching world, a hot seat where you can solve an industry problem, right? Like I used to run a presentation where I guaranteed to solve any marketing problem on the spot. And then a few years ago, I used to do it for business coaches where I guaranteed to solve any business coaching problem on the spot, right? So it's kind of like a hot seat type dynamic, but basically a demonstration. Just think of, you got the new, latest, greatest cheese cutter and people are walking through the mall, and bingo, bango, bongo, you do demonstrations, every hour on the hour, and they can watch it. And then after watching the demonstration with predictability, and the more animated and the more, imaginative you are with the demonstration, probably the higher your conversions. So by doing the demonstration in an interesting, creative way could dramatically increase results. What's another one? Example of results using your product, service, or system, right? So, and by the way, think of your coaching client, an example of results using, of your client using the product, the system, or the service, right, that they provide. So basically, example of results, right? Pretty straightforward. Another way, which is kind of the same but different, but it's an example of ascension. So like think of an upward trajectory of your client using your product, your system, your service. So acne going away. So you've seen a late night TV thing where they're selling acne cream, and then they have the acne going away over time, as opposed to pretending like boom, it just automatically goes, right? So anyway, so the upward trajectory, which is different than just the result, right? More powerful, frankly. What else is there, Shoots? Validation from a client. Okay, so you're going to do a local live event, and a client's going to come along, and then you're going to throw it to the client. He's going to stand up, she's going to stand up, and they're going to speak on your behalf. Very powerful, by the way. If you can, you can do that. That's very, very. Or you're doing a webinar and you open up a client, right? So powerful and probably not misused, but misunderstood in terms of the power. What else is there? There's another validation. I can't think of it. Okay, I'm going to go to another one. I'll come back to it. Demonstrate neediness from your industry. Okay, so loneliness is an epidemic, right? So if somebody had something socially where they could show where they're solving a larger problem for society, that could be, so demonstrating neediness of an industry, right? Or like at the bottom of every one of my emails, I get a ridiculous amount of comments about this, but I talk about how marriages break up from a lack of money over lack of love times 100. So again, suicides, depression, depression and suicide, suicidal thoughts, etc. go with entrepreneurship. Unfortunately, like the suicide rate in entrepreneurs versus the general population is ridiculous. It's significantly higher. So that's an example of demonstrating neediness. So if that's, if suicide is something significantly greater in entrepreneurs, then you are demonstrating a need, and then your coaching takes on a lot more meaning than, hey, we're gonna, we're going to help you become more profitable. We're going to bring in more leads. We're going to do something at a significantly higher level. And then Shoots the other one. So that's demonstrating neediness. The one I thought of a minute ago, validation from an industry expert or an industry influencer, which they're often called nowadays. Just think of somebody tagging you on Facebook and talking about how amazing you are. That would be an example there. Or somebody calling you out. I have a client. He got his name mentioned in a rap song. Right? I always thought that was really, really cool. It's like not everybody could say that, right? Like that's pretty cool. So that would be semi the same, but validation from what we'll call it. You would assume that rapper would have to be an industry expert in order for that to be working quite the way you want it to do. But that said, if you got your name in a rap song, you can only imagine that you would take on that. There's a level of social proof there on steroids. And so I just rattled those off. That may not have been all 10, but I believe that's roughly 10 or all 10, and get creative. A lot of that, just get, be dynamic. It's, let me just finish with this, Shoots. You want to help your clients, you want to help yourself demonstrate social proof in multiple ways, but I want you to be significantly more creative and imaginative than just quote unquote collecting testimonials. Like that's what everybody does. They collect testimonials and they think that that's social proof. And I'm going to say that that's the sandbox of testimonials and social proof. That's the sandbox of social proof. And you could just do so much better without a huge amount of ingenuity. So what do you think, Shoots? That's my answer. How'd I do? You like it?
Creativity, buddy. I think that is the word of the day. Is just be creative in your business and all things, right? Incorporate some new mental models. Incorporate just the way that you service clients, the way that you ask for referrals, the way that you get testimonials. I think that's a great word, wouldn't you say?
Buddy, let's make that the last thought, Shoots. I would agree wholeheartedly.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And on that note, folks, thank you for tuning into another episode of Business Coaching Secrets with the Dolphin Man himself, King Carl. And if you're not on the inside and getting access to pre-show, you aren't getting Carl's daily emails. You aren't getting access to all of the, wait for it, the plethora of information that Carl has at focus.com. You might want to go and check that out. And again, if you enjoyed the podcast, please share it, as we're trying to get this message out and help as many people as possible. And of course, we'd always love it if you'd rate the episode because it helps us. It helps us in the rankings. And that is always a good thing. And remember, folks, progress, guess what? It equals happiness. So remember that for next week. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you in the next episode.
Carl Bryan built Profit Acceleration Software 2.0 to train business coaches how to find any small business owner more than $100,000 in 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. This becomes a business coach's superpower. So as a business coach, you'll never again have to worry about working with business owners that can't afford your high-end coaching fees. Check us out at focused.com.